Hello, I hope everyone is okay. My name is Judith, and today I am going to speak in regards to adulthood and parenting, autism, what is it, and how to cope and manage. So, this is an introduction to autism spectrum disorder. What is it, and why it's important that we know that? Understanding what autism is and what is not will make the difference in between on how we cope with it and manage or not. So whether you are an adult or a parent with a child or children who are autistic, you want to understand what autism is and what is not, according to your family member, according to your own child, not in comparison to someone else. And this is important when it comes to autism. And also, it's important when it comes to anyone. No one likes to be compared to other humans. So the same thing is with those who are autistic individuals. In regards to autism, what is it? What does science say that it is? What do doctors say that autism is? Well, when you look at the situation, you see that autism spectrum disorder is a condition related to brain development that impacts how a person perceives and socializes with others, causing problems in social interaction and communication. The disorder also includes limited and repetitive patterns of behavior. The term spectrum in autism spectrum disorder refers to the wide range of symptoms and severity. That is what Mayo Clinic says in regards to autism spectrum disorder in the information that they published in 2018. We know much more now than we did before when it comes to autism. And basically, when you look at the information that is provided and you compare it, if you just got a diagnosis for autism and you compare to what it says, it is accurate. Now, when it comes to your family member autism and or your partner, your wife or your husband, this condition may be exhibited in different ways, as each person is a different individual with different surroundings, different experiences in life, and each and every one of us are unique individuals with our own ways of doing things and our own mental abilities and thinking process. So when it comes to autism, the person might be affected differently depending on who the person is. So when it says over here in the information that the term spectrum in autism spectrum disorder refers to the wide range of symptoms and severity. When it relates to symptoms, it relates to how the person's body is affected. And when it comes to severity, it relates to the person's cognitive abilities, understanding, reasoning, and how the person learns. So it used to be known as somewhere high or somewhere low in autism, but it has been found out that that's not what it is. So autism also can go along with other diseases and conditions can go along with autism and vice versa. And so that will make the individual's symptoms either more severe or less severe. And of course, this will affect the person's learning and the way how the person relate to others, and if the person is verbal or not. Of course, getting any diagnosis for any disease or any condition is something that no one wants to hear. But the truth is that all of us have some type of something that we have to deal with in our daily life when it comes to our health. Now, it says in regards to autism spectrum disorder, says that the disorder also includes limited and repetitive patterns of behavior. These patterns of behavior are reflected in many different ways by the person who is autistic. So that's why observing the person who is autistic, observing your family member behaviors in order to learn how the person is communicating, or to help the individual to communicate in a way that is beneficial, that is proper. There is a proper way of communicating, even though some may think, well, I can speak however I want. Yes, you can. Yes, sure, you can. But do you want to have relationships? Do you want to be able to interact with others? Do you want to work and be efficient at work? Communication is the way that we maneuver ourselves with others. And so it is important that we learn that there is a proper way of communication. And when it comes to parenting, parents, your children need guidance, need discipline. So don't stop being a parent to your child because he or she is autistic. Yes, it is true, your child learns differently, but he's still learning. Your child might be lacking in some things. So for example, maybe he or she cannot maintain eye contact. And that is okay. They are still learning. And when it comes to discipline, discipline is not only punishment. Discipline refers to guidance out of love, which we all need. And especially when we're growing up, that we need to be guided. Yes, we do need to be protected to a certain level, but we also need to understand that there are consequences for our actions. So in understanding what autism is and what autism is not, we have to understand that autism does not only affect our brain, but it also affects the whole person. Now, when it comes to autism, we may think that it specifically targets the neurons in our brain. And yes, our brain is the one that we know that there's something wrong with it, or that something is not functioning correctly, because it is through our brains that we learn how to do everything that our body does. Our brain sends signals to the rest of our body. So yes, it is mainly seen in the brain, but it relates to the whole body. When it comes to neurons, which are also known as neurones, nerve cells, and nerve fibers, neurons are electrically functioning, or function by electric charge inside the body, inside the cells, and specifically the cells that are inside the nervous system that function to process and transmit information. So neurons are the core component of the brain, the spinal cord, and peripheral nerves. We have nerves throughout our whole body, so it affects the whole person from head to toes. So it's not just the brain. Now, when it comes to the dysfunction or malfunction or disorder of the neurological system, it affects again the whole body. Yes, it affects the brain, and we can see it, we can observe it, because the person will do certain things or will not be able to do certain things. For example, when it comes to maintaining eye contact, which it might be something that other children can do, other adults can do, but when it comes to autistic individuals, this is a very difficult thing to do, because again, it has to do with our nervous system, the nervous system of the individual. So a neurological disorder then is any disorder of the nervous system, a structural, biochemical, or electrical abnormalities in the brain. Goes down to the spinal cord and other nerves. And it can result, when there's a disorder, in a range of symptoms. So some symptoms that can appear include paralysis, because it's the nerves that help us move, that help us feel. We can also experience, if we have a neurological disorder, which a neurological disorder is not only relating to autism, but anything that relates to our brain function, to how our nervous system function. So it can be any disease. It can be Parkinson's, it can be attention deficit disorder, and it can be autism. So we may feel also muscle weakness, poor coordination, loss of sensation, seizures, confusion, pain, and altered levels of consciousness. And this may be due to or what we know as an autistic person saying, well, the noise bothers me, or the taste is too much for me, or the eyes. It has to do with how our nervous system is. Is it altered? If it's altered, then we are going to express ourselves. The way that we feel, we are going to express it through how we speak, or when we speak. Now, some of the recognized neurological disorders are many, and it can be common and now better understood because we know how the body functions. When it comes to autism, just like any other diagnosis, just like diabetes or cardiovascular disease, we know that it can affect our whole system. For example, the anatomy of the body. The human body contains multiple organ systems, and an organ system is a collection of body parts depending one another to achieve a mutual objective. So the human is a set of, or a collection of, body parts, organs, and systems. So there is the integumentary system, the musculoskeletal, cardiovascular, lymphatic, respiratory, digestive, urinary, reproductive, and nervous system. And when it comes to organs of sense, we have the eye, the ear, the endocrine, the hematologic, and the immune systems. So we have our sense of eyesight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. And so everything works together in synchrony. If there is a disorder in our bodies, it can be in our brain or it can be anywhere else in our body, then we'll have some kind of malfunction. And of course, it will affect our physical, our behavioral, and our cognitive functions. And this is again in any neurological disorder. So what is autism? According to Mayo Clinic, it says this: autism spectrum disorder is a condition related to brain development that impacts how a person perceives and socializes with others, causing problems in social interaction and communication. The disorder also includes limited and repetitive patterns of behavior. The term spectrum in autism spectrum disorder refers to the wide range of symptoms and severity. So that's what I have mentioned before. So what is autism? Autism is a spectrum of symptoms that can range in severity. And this is because of differences in people. In some people, autism is going to be reflected in one way, and in others it will be reflected in another way. And this is due to how the person is living his or her life. If there is good nutrition, sleep, physical activity, learning, and application of identity correctly, then the person is going to be managing better their autism. If the person is lacking in these, then the person is going to experience more severe symptoms, because it depends on what deficiencies the body has. As we are getting older, we are aging, our body starts to degenerate. So what if we do not do something about it, then our degeneration is going to be much faster, and it is going to continue to become manifest in our brain function and how we direct our body, how we direct ourselves. So understanding what autism is and what autism is not, and how autism affects you personally, how autism affects your child, your children, your husband, your wife, is what will help you cope and manage when it comes to autism spectrum disorder. So we know that autism is not only related to the brain. Autism is also related to the whole body, the whole person. Autism will also affect the cognitive, the behavioral, and the physical being or well-being of the person. Depending on the lifestyle of the person will have a feel of a better hold of himself or herself and his or her life. Or if the physical activity, the nutrition, and the sleep is poor, then the person will have even more difficulties when it comes to learning, when it comes to discerning, when it comes to making application of what is learned, and experiencing more anxiety, and even having other disorders such as obsessive compulsive disorder or dissociative identity disorders, which are due to OCD or obsessive compulsive disorder. In order, the person is trying to cope, and we say the mind, but in reality it's the person, because again, we like to separate things from our body, but my mind is me, and so it's not separated from me. My arms are me, they are not separated from me. So when it comes to managing, understanding of any disease that is affecting me, is affecting you, is what will help you cope and manage the disorder, the disease, the illness, the condition, and yourself, how it affects you. So this is what I had today in regards to autism. What is it and how to cope and manage? And next time I will be speaking more in regards to other topics that relate to autism, in regards to observing your human being, your family member who is autistic. You should take notes when you make observations, and also observe how the person is learning, what is best for the person to learn, And if you're going to do some guidance and teaching, then help the individual in the way that he or she can, because sometimes we like to do things in the way that we can, and we expect others to do in the level that we can, but maybe that person is not able to do as we can. So we have to take into consideration what that person can do. And observation means, in a scientific way, that you're observing in order to learn patterns, in order to learn behaviors, in order to learn the way of communication, the way of interacting, so that you can better interact and communicate with that person and guide that person, your family member. So it's different than staring. Staring is when you look at someone because you're just looking at that person, but not with the interest of learning in a scientific way from that person, or to make scientific guesses, or to help that person. Staring, when it comes to staring and when it comes to looking, there are different things. Looking, you look at something and then you turn your side away. So you looked, you perceived the image, and then you went on ahead and do whatever else you needed to do. When it comes to staring, staring is when you are fixated on someone, and this staring can be a way of starting a conflict if it's within a stranger. Usually if you're looking at someone, that person don't know you, and you're staring at that person, that seems confrontational and picking up some type of problem and conflict, and the person is wondering, why are you looking at him or her? When it comes to your family member, if you're in a relationship and that person is upset and you're staring at them, that may look like you're looking for a conflict and confrontational. Now, gazing into someone's eyes, staring into someone's eyes, and you're happy, that is different. You're actually imparting your attention to that person, but that is only okay to do if you know that person intimately and you are in a relationship with that person. Like, it can be a family member and you are in a happy mood with that person. It's not gonna work if you're upset. That will start an argument or make it even bigger. So making observations in a scientific way, you are not even looking at the person. Sometimes you can be hearing the person, you can be looking at what the person does, but not in a staring way. And sometimes you can even be looking at the person and that person might not even be aware that you are observing in a scientific way. So there's a difference there that I wanted to mention before I finish today's topic. And again, understanding is what will help us cope and manage either ourselves with our own diagnosis, including if it's autism or any other diagnosis, and then knowing ourselves, knowing my body, knowing how my body is functioning, what I'm able to do, what I'm not able to do, accepting what I can do and what I cannot do, and then learning from the scientific point of view, does this apply to me? Do I feel this way? And then once you realize, well, yeah, this is what it is, you're understanding yourself better, understanding what autism is, then start making adjustments in order for you to deal with situations better. And give yourself time to learn in your capacity. not in someone else's capacity. So it is important to know what limitations I have, what limitations this condition gives me. So this is it. This is adulthood and parenting, autism, what it is, and how to cope and manage. And next time I will be speaking on a different matter. Thank you for listening.